How will MICA impact businesses? Moderated by Wesley Ellul. Quizando.
Morning. Welcome to day 2 here at the AIBC Summit here in Belgrade. It is raining outside, but the knowledge in here is making us all warm. And today we're going to be talking about a subject which I find is very interesting. I'm not a regulator myself. I don't like regulation, but it's being enforced upon us. And this morning what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about MICA and how it will actually impact business throughout Europe. This morning with me I have 3 experts in the field of MICA regulation, and I'll let them introduce themselves, but starting with Vyara, who is our first expert in the area of MICA.
Well, thank you. So my name is Vyara. I'm from Bulgaria, and I'm currently part of the European Crypto Initiative. We are an advocacy organization based in Brussels with the aim of making sure that crypto will be regulated properly on an EU level. So we have been quite busy in the last couple of months with the marketing crypto assets regulation, that's MICA, and also with the transfer of funds regulation that is quite important in terms of basically how transfers will be done in the future, and it's related to the travel rule that has already been mentioned in one of the keynotes. And apart from that, I'm a practicing lawyer, and I'm currently doing my PhD in the topic of how we can use smart contracts in order to make the legal profession better. So yeah, great to be here.
Thank you for coming. And our second panelist is Jaguar.
Hello.
Good morning.
I'm Jaguar Ellul. I'm a CPA and a CEO of Jaguar Reg & Comp, and I build companies globally, crypto and fintech companies, where regulation enables and banking is feasible and taxation is minimal. So it's part we all care about different aspects of it, and I focus mainly on fintech, crypto, and NFT companies. And I have a lot to say about MICA, mind you all. So bear in mind there's probably going to be quotes on the media on this.
And someone else who also has a lot to say about MICA is Alireza, who was actually one of the first people drafting the initial MICA regulation framework. Am I correct?
So hi everyone. So is it on? Yeah, test. So yeah, hi everyone, good morning. I'm a German lawyer, I'm a German crypto lawyer, I'm from Germany. And I work with banks and regulated institutions and also startups. And yeah, you're right. As part of my being active also at the Blockchain Association of the European Commission, INATBA, I was a board member. We were in a MICA task force, so we helped the European Commission to draft the first draft of MICA, so I have a good insight.
All right. So let's start off. We're hearing this word MICA, we're hearing regulation. Does this mean this is a new law? If I am in a crypto company, is that what this is bringing to the floor? Vyara?
Well, yeah, that's correct. Basically, what's interesting is that it's going to be not just a new law, but it's going to be a new regulation that's going to be have an impact on all over the European Union. Basically, all the member states will need to be compliant with it. So, yeah, here we are kind of talking of the Brussels effect.
Okay.
All over again. Basically, what Brussels was trying to achieve with the GDPR are also trying to do with crypto regulation by being the first ones regulating it.
So, in other words, a lot of bureaucracy for nothing.
Also, yes. Well, yeah.
Would you agree with that, Jaguar?
Well, referring to that specific point, I have 2 things to say about it. First of all, we're in a world of decentralization. This is this sector here. And however, countries still have sovereignty and they have their own regulators and parliaments, which are people who are being chosen to enact new laws and to enforce them. However, MICA, on the other hand, is offering, it's an offer right now, to be able to be applied all over many countries, all European countries, or European targeted markets of other businesses, without the countries having to agree to that and to imply that in their own laws. So that takes a lot of their sovereignty. Say, for example, just a weird example, say there's a country that is not approving of MICA, but it requires nothing. It will work just as the GDPR. And this is a very serious thing that it goes to international law, parts of it, that affects countries in the EU. But I do have some hopes because look at the GDPR. It's taken about 10 years to actually take part and take effect. So maybe there's still hope to change things. And I think being an offer, I think the public is very welcome with comments, and you'd probably be able to say a lot more about this.
So yeah, I mean the MICA is final. So it's final since end of June, and it's going to be effective by December, January. So and then you have 18 months only, not 10 years, unfortunately, to apply to the MICA. And so what is important also to understand is that if you're interested in that topic, there were like 2 papers from ESMA and from EBA in January 2019, where they analyzed the crypto market within the European Economic Area. And the result was that there was no harmonized approach on crypto assets. And this is actually what MICA is targeting, to have like a harmonized approach to really describe what is a crypto asset and how should it be regulated. And in my opinion, this is a good approach because I'm from Germany, and in Germans they like to regulate. But as you can see from what Germany did like 2 years before, so we started already in 2020 with regulating crypto assets. Everyone thought that's the end for Germany in crypto assets, in the crypto assets industry. But actually it was the opposite. You can see Coinbase, which was the first regulated crypto exchange in Germany and the first one globally active. We saw BitMEX, who tried to buy a bank in Germany, which failed. And we see many others like Binance and others coming to Germany because regulation brings also benefits, because it brings transparency. It shows you exactly and tells exactly what you need to do to comply with, and then how the game works. And this is, I think, something we need because the crypto industry is still relatively in the beginning. And we need really to make it more become professional and more become like not just a game, but a business.
Okay, so over here with GDPR, we know what the sort of objectives of GDPR are. Protect our personal data, make sure that it doesn't get spread. What is the objective of MICA? What is it trying to do?
So there are multiple objectives. One of them is consumer protection, which is something that is very strongly it's a strong focus of the EU in general, and now it kind of shifted on crypto transfers as well. And also having a better legal framework for crypto assets as well.
Okay.
So basically now we have MICA, where we have the definitions of different assets that are asset reference tokens and e-money tokens that are basically what we usually refer to as stablecoins. And we have NFTs, and then we have all the other crypto assets that are also regulated under MICA, but that does not fall under the definitions of arts and the other definitions in MICA. So now we have more legal clarity about what is what and how it's regulated. Okay. Plus, we also will have hopefully more protection for the consumers, more information, and other safeguards.
So just to summate, it is protection for the consumer and definitions is what we have so far. And
more legal clarity, yeah.
More legal clarity. Jaguar, do you know any other objectives in the MICA space?
Well, I'm I'd say the expert committee in Israel of regulating crypto assets as well. But however, it's a local per country committee that would hand a report to the Ministry of Finance in Israel in a few months, and it will be changed country-wise. So that is the main difference that I see and the main objection. However, I do agree with my colleagues here that regulations bring clarity with definitions within it. But we need to take into account the fact that it also refers to service providers. And service providers are defined per country differently. And having a unification of that, a global look, would make it very complicated because you'll need to change a lot of the ethics laws of each country per each profession. And that will create a lot of tackles, and that's why 18 months would be great But we've seen, like in the GDPR, that it was enacted and was set to come into effect within whatever 2 years of grace time that was given, and nobody was doing too much until May 2018,
Yes.
right? Where all the clients have come to all of us for service regarding that. Plus, this was 2018. We're now 2022, 4 years later, and now we're seeing a major change in the last year or so. And I do see that it affects American companies as well, because most of them are located in Europe, and they were trying to fight that and tackle that in France, in Ireland, etc., to say that it doesn't apply to them. However, as GDPR applies, taking there to California, to the CCPA, the relevant regulations there, MICA will, when it comes into effect, a little more years than expected, I believe, then I think it will apply towards the US, and now there'll be contradictions between the New York bit license definitions and the US definitions. Okay. So I see a lot of tackles coming in and a lot of arguments, and in our profession it's actually great because we get to change the laws a little bit.
Okay, so how do you think this will affect business? I'm going to go back to GDPR. GDPR, one of the ways it affected business was I couldn't access certain sites from the US because I'm based in Malta. Is this going to be a case where I can't use Binance US anymore, or I can't use Coinbase because the MICA regulation the Coinbase US might not be compliant with Europe, and if I'm in Europe, I can't use the service. Is this part of the framework? Is this part of what's happening in MICA? Ali, I'll start with you on this.
I mean, it really depends looking at which service provider we look at. Something we didn't talk about is a white paper requirement, for instance. So if someone wants to issue a token, a coin, and wants to offer it to the European market, this person would need to have a proper white paper. Some of you know the white paper from the ICO time, but you know also that in a white paper, you see a nice zebra in the beginning, and in the end, a donkey comes out. And this is something which MICA is targeting. So you would need to have a white paper which is true, and in the end you really implement what is in a white paper written, and you really offer that to the client. And this is something which is the impact on the business if you look at the issuers. If you look on the other side, on the brokers, on the exchanges, it would also affect them if they want to still continue their business within the European Economic Area. So Coinbase is a good example because Coinbase has already a subsidiary in Germany, so they will most likely make use of the MICA passporting regime, which means they're already regulated in Germany, and they will apply for the passporting and get straight access to the whole European Economic Area, which is a good side of the MICA. So it's not only bad sides. But Kraken, on the other hand, they are not regulated so far or yet within the European Economic Area. Some tried to do through Cyprus, which is not really working because Cyprus has a MiFID regime, not a MICA regime. So you would need to have in the end a license, either a MICA license or a license which is similar to MICA, like Germany and France are offering, and then do the so-called passporting, and then your business can continue. But once you have this license, this is not the end. Then the ongoing compliance within the MICA will apply. Something like market integrity. What you see now is like all these Telegram channels with this pump and dump schemes. This will not happen any longer. So this happens. So this will apply if you want to do business within the European Economic Area. Like you said, Jaguar, if you want to target the European investors, it even applies to you if you're outside of the European Economic Area, but you have your, I don't know, your commercials, your marketing, your influencers on YouTube, or you're on Instagram or wherever, and who really target the European investors, then you would need to have some kind of a MICA regulation.
Okay, so essentially, in a nutshell, Kraken theoretically cannot offer me services in 18 months' time. Is one of the things that I can take away from this? Am I right? Or no? Or it won't affect me? It's then based on their best judgment.
So from now on, you have 2 years because it's going to be effective by the end of the year. Then 18 months time to really comply with the rules. And if you do not have any, I mean, there are maybe also ways around that. You can do some cooperation with some institutions in the European Economic Area, some umbrella models and stuff like that. But you actually, what you said, you have like from now on 2 years time to make yourself familiar with MICA and then to find some solution.
Is there any penalty? If like I'm based out in some island in the middle of the Pacific. I run an exchange. I have 100,000 clients from all around the world. Is there a penalty if I'm taking on European clients for me, which I'm not regulated in the space?
Well, there definitely will be. And apart from the penalty that's going to come from the EU institutions and basically the member states and then the EU institutions, there's going to be the penalty of not being able to be listed on exchanges that want to operate with EU citizens, which is more or less all of the exchanges. So there is also this penalty of sorts that is, I think, would be a very would have a very big influence on the willingness of people to be compliant.
So what if I'm a decentralized exchange, I'm all over the world, and I want to operate in Europe? Can this happen under MICA or no?
So the centralized use cases are excluded from MICA. But here's the trick. It's not quite certain what would be understood under the centralized.
Okay.
Because also there is in the text, it has to be decentralized enough, in a sense, in order for it to be excluded. So we're still waiting for the final definitions and for different position papers that are coming in the next months to actually see what would be understood under decentralized. So I wouldn't say that a decentralized project right now should be completely kind of calm and certain that it would not fall within MICA's regulation, because that's still not quite certain. And plus, even after MICA even if DeFi isn't regulated in MICA, there will most definitely be a DeFi regulation in the coming years.
Okay. Go ahead, Jaguar.
I agree, and I think that having too many regulations, or not too many in the point of view of the exchanges, having hard regulatory regime over CIS, which is centralized exchanges, have encouraged a lot the development of DeFi, and having those CX, those exchanges, centralized exchanges, having to comply with harder regulation, if it is harder, such as MICA, would give even a better boost for DeFi. And as you mentioned, those DeFi participants would say first, either, oh, I'm not incorporated in Europe, or I'm not targeting European market investors, not generally speaking, or we're kind of a DAO, we're a foundation or whatever. We are DeFi. Go search for us. Good luck with that. And I think that's going to be a big boost for DeFi, for good and for bad.
I'm tending to agree. So, like, I'm a user in the space. I like regulation. I like people being protected. At the same time, one thing that's scaring me a little bit is it seems like MICA is not just regulating Europe; it's regulating the world. And it could be a little bit of overreach, but anyway, but that's up for the thing to decide. My question is, do we need MICA? We're here at AIBC, which is running alongside Sigma, which is all about gaming around all of the world, including Europe. In Europe, we don't have any harmonization when it comes down to gambling regulation. Do we need a harmonized framework for consumer protection, or can we leave it to the states to decide?
Well, I'm not sure if you think it's great that we don't have a harmonized regulation regarding gaming and gambling, because crypto area has a lot of new technology which entails many aspects of gambling within it, but not necessarily, wasn't built for gambling by itself. However, gaming and gambling, it is what it is. I think this sector should have needed a lot more of a customer protection and investor protection than the crypto one. The question is, this is what about ism, kind of saying that if that sector is not regulated, why are we? Okay. And I think we started as really very supportive of having regulation, because regulation is clarity. However, the enforcement of which is where we're disputing. Right. It's okay.
Okay.
It's fine to not agree.
One question I have here is, so MICA is about digital assets. Is it specifically DLT assets, or is it any digital asset?
It's crypto assets. It's the definition, and it's so broad right now, the definition, that it's It's DLT, yeah. But
But it's specified DLT.
Yeah. But
Okay.
the thing is that it's specified, as I mentioned previously, there are definitions of specific tokens that are regulated in a different way, let's say. And then we have crypto assets. That is a really broad definition. That is, its purpose is to basically be a catch-all for even for future use cases and for whatever basically the industry would come up with next.
Okay.
Before the Brussels regulators are ready with a new regulation.
Okay.
So it's broad enough to kind of catch all the use cases that are currently on the market, yes. But it's DOT.
Okay, so because I was going to give one example. So like we all know Amazon have gift cards and you can transfer a value of 500 euros and have a little code and give that, you can use that code on Amazon or you can send it to someone else and actually sell that card on eBay. And all of a sudden you have a digital asset, a form of money, which can be used in multiple stores around the world, not just UK, Germany, US. Wouldn't that fall into the same definition? Because even within that space, they also have multiple sellers.
It's interesting because we also need to see the final text first. But what I can say is that there is a big difference, for example, in the meaning of words that are being used in MICA. For example, there's the term utility token that is absolutely different from what utility tokens are in the US, for example, which is going to cause a lot of confusion. But utility tokens, in this case, are more like vouchers.
Okay.
So what you explained, I can't say with 100% certainty, but might also be considered under this broader category. So we remain to see how it's going to be understood.
Interesting, Ali. You have a point.
I can tell you 100% they're not inside MICA because the MICA crypto assets definition is different from the crypto assets definition which we have in Germany. So the crypto assets definition in Germany has no relationship to DLT or blockchain, whilst the definition in MICA says it either has to be issued on the DLT or it has to be stored on the DLT. And Amazon vouchers or Amazon assets, let's call them like this, they are in the internet, but they are not used or issued or stored on a blockchain or DLT. Therefore, they would not fall within the MICA. And this is a problem actually because the German regulator chose not to use DLT and blockchain because it says it's technology neutral. We don't want to regulate the technology. That's why we're not referring to the DLT. That's why in Germany, the Amazon points would most likely be inside MICA. However, the German regulation says if it's e-money, close to e-money, then it's maybe exempted under e-money rules, and then it's also exempted under German banking rules. And this is what actually MICA is not doing. MICA is only referring to DLT. That's why these Amazon points are out of the picture. But on the other hand, MICA is then really regulating the DLT, which is not fair.
Oh.
When a new technology comes, and new technology comes every 10 years or so, either we'll have to have a regulator sit again and make a new MICA or maybe new regulations, and that will take also years to follow, or make it technology agnostic.
Now we've been talking about organizations. As individuals, does this affect us as well? In the sense, now crypto holdings, let's just say I have a couple of wallets which I haven't declared anywhere, and I start selling things peer to peer. Will MICA be affecting the actual individual, or is it just at the organization level at this moment?
So basically, that's more a question about the transfer of funds regulation. The transfer that you are referring to is, if it's peer-to-peer, it will not be covered by basically the information collection regime and all of that. But if you are the user of a so-called unhosted wallet, then for certain transfers that are above 1,000 euro, you will have to provide information if you are transferring with a CASP, which is a crypto asset service provider, which is a definition that comes from MICA. So it's really intertwined, but for peer-to-peer, for now, it's excluded.
All right. So one last, your final thoughts before we close off, because we only have a minute left. Okay, is MICA going to be pushing us forward, or is it going to be taking us back as a crypto forward union?
Well, I'm from what I have heard from the industry mostly. Most of the the companies that have been on the playing field for quite some time are calling MICA net positive, especially ones that have been mindful of the regulation that already exists, that have acquired some licenses and are being compliant already. So they are optimistic because, in a sense, they're already prepared for MICA. So the problem would be mostly for the people that have been really happy with the lack of regulation and that have been taking advantage of that.
All right. Jaguar?
I think the issues will come for international companies that are working inside and outside the European Union, for sure, and all the other companies who are, or service providers who are working and being registered in various islands, and more specifically when clashes will come in, and we'll see, I think, a lot of litigation cases coming up when it gets in. So, but generally speaking, to your previous question, to say most regulations in most countries and laws in crypto relate to businesses. Once it's a service, it's an organization, you do that business-wise. On individuals, what mostly applies is tax rules, taxation.
Fair enough.
Naturally.
Ali, MICA, positive, negative, where is it going?
Positive, talking of experience of Germany, when the regulation jumped in, the whole crypto market really increased, and this is going to happen for the whole European area.
All right, fantastic. A big hand for our three amazing panelists. And we will be back with more Sigma, more AIBC talks very shortly.